Blood cancers as a group are if you work from the Irish Cancer Registry data, which was published about a year ago, collectively blood cancers are the fourth commonest cause of cancer-related death in Ireland. Because they have slightly exotic sounding names and names that don't really mean a lot to people, and sometimes very archaic names and esoteric names, it's hard for people to relate to them. And so for that reason, while blood cancer is a real problem in Ireland, what happens is it doesn't get a lot of publicity. So people can relate more to breast cancer, to prostate cancer, to bowel cancer, and these are important problems. But as anyone with cancer knows, if you have a cancer, it doesn't matter whether it's a common cancer or a rare cancer, you need it dealt with, and all cancer patients are entitled to equal resources. The blood cancers are increasing in prevalence, and that's something that we've seen internationally, and also that we've seen again in the Irish data. One of the very encouraging things from the Irish Cancer Registry data was that the survival rates in Irish patients with blood cancer are increasing very significantly, and that mirrors the experience internationally in the best centres, in particular in the US. So that gives us the message that we're on the right track in terms of what we're doing, but it also gives us the message that we must stay on the right track, and that we cannot let funding cuts or recessions or elements like that to lead to a decline in our standards.
Jerry Clark is the name. I'm from County Meath. I come from a small little parish on the northern eastern side of that, and I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 07, and hadn't a clue what it was about. I was lucky enough in a way, I suppose, that our family GP would always give a ring and say, you know, it's time for a checkup, and that was going on about 3 or 4 years, and 07 then he called me back, and he was telling me I had high protein or something in my blood, which I knew nothing about. I didn't feel I had pains or aches or anything at that stage, so we done another test, and then he said, you know, I think you might have cancer. Naming multiple myeloma, which went over my head. I couldn't remember the word. You get such a shock, I suppose. And then I was sent up to Dr. O'Gorman, and our first meeting there then, and then it was on to the process of being diagnosed and having all the little bits and pieces done. And I've took it from there. I got, I suppose, the very best treatment that could be got in any part of the world. And I'm delighted that it's 5 years on now, and so far so good.
I guess primarily what drives us is the patient. So our clinical activity is the key driver in everything we do. So we are delighted to be moving into this new state-of-the-art ward, which is the 34-bed hemato-oncology unit with a single ensuite rooms and clean air and a clean air facility. Our patients then require drugs at different times in their clinical history when they relapse, and often we can run out at certain points in their treatment of treatment options. That's where the clinical trials program is really important. This is run through the UCD Catherine Macaulay Clinical Trial Centre, and for example, in the area of multiple myeloma this year we have 4 new clinical trials opening, and these are drugs that are tried and tested drugs but are not yet licensed, because the licensing process both in the US with the FDA and in Europe with the EMEA is quite a lengthy process. So if we want to get access to new drugs for our patients in a timely manner when they need them, then it's really important to have a clinical trial up and running.
I became involved with MIRT because my husband was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in October 2010. So he was a patient of Dr. O'Gorman's, and he was treated at the Mater Private. And unfortunately, he was one of the patients who had very severe multiple myeloma, and his treatment plan didn't quite work out the way I think Dr. Gorman had hoped. So he passed away in April 2011. And I stayed in contact with Dr. Gorman and learned a little bit more about treatments for multiple myeloma, the causes of multiple myeloma, and just was interested in hearing the work that is done here to further research and to get better outcomes, I suppose, for other patients and for Jerry. I think Jerry is was a perfect example of where treatment, sort of a standard treatment, didn't fit what he was suffering or how his body was built. I don't have the medical terminology for it, but it was very much a trial and error approach, in the sense that he was started on the preferred or best known treatment, but that actually didn't do anything for him. So when they switched to Plan B, he was already 2 months into it and weakened by both the cancer and the treatment. No cancer treatment is easy, I think, on the body. So when I understood a little bit more about the efforts to try to individualise treatment and how important it is to understand how the genetic makeup of every person and the particular kind of cancer, I thought that was really interesting and worthwhile to support this, because any research can only result in better outcomes for patients.
Yeah, the 27th of September we're holding a blood cancer forum. What we want to do is to highlight our activities in the area. Our activities have evolved over a number of years and currently include state-of-the-art clinical facilities, a very active clinical trials program, a hematologist in training, our blood cancer physician training program where we send our people to America to bring back their skills to Irish patients. So we're going to some of our students are going to present. Some of them are just back from Boston, some of them are still in Boston, some of them based in DCU, some in UCD, and really this is a trans-institutional program, and we're also lucky enough to have our main collaborator in the US, Ken Anderson, who's recognised as a world leader in multiple myeloma new drug development. So we're looking forward to hearing what new drugs are coming down the track.
The partnership between MIRT and Dana Farber Cancer Institute, quite frankly, is a major honor for us in Boston and at Harvard. Ultimately, for patients, it's going to mean options for new treatments and better outcome. Plainly, this collaboration started 5 years ago, and it started as a meeting that I attended here in Dublin, and it's grown now to have several years' worth of trainees come from Ireland to Boston and learn in collaborative projects, both preclinical, in other words, laboratory and animal studies that reflect cancer, as well as clinical trial expertise.
I spoke to Dr. O'Gorman about my interest in hematology, and he subsequently introduced me to Dr. Anderson and Dr. Richardson at the American Society of Clinical Oncology conference in Chicago, and they were very excited to have another Irish student come to Boston to undertake another PhD in collaboration with the two institutions.
So what's happened as a direct result of this wonderful collaboration is we have now a new generation of cancer researchers, both laboratory and clinical researchers, and importantly, researchers that have come back and will continue to come back to Ireland. What this means to patients is you have a new generation of cancer researchers who are going to be on the cutting edge and deliver for you the best therapies at a given point in time. And what also is really key is that the friendships that are personal and professional between the trainees in Ireland and the experts in myeloma in Ireland and the experts in myeloma at Dana Farber Cancer Institute and throughout the world will be strengthened. And you know, the world's a small place. And what I'm really saying is to those of you who are patients in Ireland, this is a godsend. The progress that will be made worldwide will be very quickly delivered and become options for therapeutic benefit for those of you who have myeloma in Ireland.
I think everybody in Ireland is affected by cancer. I lost my own grandmother to pancreatic cancer, and then obviously Sister Martha Haggerty, and it's just lovely seeing her photo there. She passed away on the 13th of March, and she was a great friend. I met her 13 years ago, I think, when I got asked to get involved with Respect. And I went to the St. Vincent Centre on the Navan Road, and she showed me around. And you know the way you meet somebody for the first time, and she instantly had an effect on me. And I never thought I would be friends with a sister or a nun. And neither did my father, I can tell you that as well. And we became great friends down through the years. And her sister Peggy is here today, and Martina. Her family, the Daughters of Charity, are here. And Liam and Sandra from Respect, and many, many of her friends. And she really was a wonderful, wonderful woman. She did so much for what she called her special people, and she really insisted that they get the respect that they deserve, people with an intellectual disability. And she fought for that, and Peter used the word cutting edge and visionary, and that really was what she was. She was so before her time with everything that she tried to do, and she pushed and she pushed, and she got in with people. You could not say no to the woman. She made things happen, always with the excuse that you could ask God for forgiveness afterwards, as long as you got what you wanted to get done. I just think she would be so proud, the work that's going on, the leaps and bounds that are happening, that are taking place month after month. And for me to be able to announce Dr. Katrina Hayes here as the first fellow, and to learn myself about what you're doing, and the huge improvements and the leaps and bounds that you're doing. I know a year and a half into it, you're one of the front runners, which Martha would have been delighted about as well, in terms of progress that's been made. So I'm looking forward to hearing you talk, and thanks for having me, and thanks for remembering her in this way as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think community support is very important to our patients, and we have patients from inner city Dublin right up to the border. So we've a mix of patients in terms of their background, in terms of socio-economic group, etc. But all patients need layers of support around them. They need their immediate family, they need the doctors and the nurses and social workers and the health staff, and they also need their community around them. And I guess what we have seen is really the communities of these patients really springing into action. It's very important to our patients that we have a research program, that we have a clinical trials program, and funding these activities is very difficult, particularly in the current economic climate. And I'm quite upfront with our patients, and I keep them updated as to how we're getting on with research and with funding. We have open days, and we discuss it, and really they're aware that funding is an issue, and the community of these patients has responded. So for example, in County Meath we have a patient in Rathkenny, which is a very small village in County Meath. His community have got together as a group called the Rathkenny Walkers, and over the last 2 years they've raised €40,000 for our research. And this is a group of housewives and just ordinary people, and they play a huge role in supporting the research and maintaining the standards. And this is hugely encouraging for the patients to know that their communities are coming around them.
The final thing I'll say is that, it's such an honor for us. This program has already delivered new treatments for myeloma, and whether you're Irish or from America, the inspiration, the reason we do what we do is to help patients. So ultimately, the overwhelming message is the gift of life and the gift of hope, which will derive from this wonderful collaboration.